On the night of her high school prom, 17-year-old Emma discovered a secret hidden for almost 2 decades. A secret her mother buried deep inside her heart. But when the truth finally came out, their perfect relationship changed forever. New York City. A gentle rain began to tap rhythmically against the apartment windows, blurring the glowing city lights outside. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation as Emma prepared for her prom night. To the world, Emma was the girl who had it all, intelligent, radiant, and one of the most respected students in her class. But behind that effortless, perfect smile, she carried a question that had haunted her since childhood. Who is my real father? Whenever the subject arose, her mother, Sarah, would retreat into a shell of silence. Some truths only bring pain, Emma, she would murmur, her voice barely a whisper. Eventually, Emma stopped asking, burying the curiosity deep within her, yet the hollow emptiness in her heart never truly faded. That evening, as Sarah helped Emma fasten the back of her shimmering silver gown, she looked at her daughter with a sudden flash of recognition. You look exactly like, Sarah started, but the words died in her throat. Like who, Mom? Emma asked softly, catching her mother's gaze in the mirror. Sarah forced a fragile smile, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Like a princess, she managed to say. But Emma saw the pain hiding behind that smile, a secret that was beginning to crack. Scene 2. The Hidden Letter. The room was filled with the scent of perfume and hairspray. While searching through a cluttered vanity for her pearl earrings, Emma's hand brushed against a small, old wooden drawer that was slightly ajar. Tucked away at the very back was a weathered, yellowed envelope. Across the front, in faded ink, were the words, "For Emma, only when she turns 18." Emma's heart began to hammer against her ribs. With trembling fingers, she carefully broke the seal. Inside lay a single, candid photograph of a young man with a kind face, cradling a tiny baby Emma in his protective arms. Flipped over, a short, handwritten note read, "I never wanted to leave you." Emma froze, the world around her turning cold. "What?" she breathed, her mind racing to connect the face in the photo to the void in her life. Suddenly, the door creaked open. Sarah stepped in, but the moment her eyes fell on the yellow envelope, the color drained completely from her face. "Emma, put that away." "Don't read that," Sarah pleaded, her voice shaking. "Who is this man?" Emma demanded, her voice echoing through the small apartment. Sarah's hands trembled violently as she leaned against the doorframe for support. "That's your father," she confessed, the truth finally breaking through the years of silence. A heavy, suffocating silence filled the room. Emma's eyes blurred with tears as the betrayal set in. "You told me he abandoned us. You said he didn't want me." Sarah looked down, her shoulders slumped under the weight of a decade of guilt. "He didn't leave willingly, Emma. It wasn't his choice." The truth, hidden for 17 long years, finally poured out like a floodgate breaking. Sarah's voice cracked as she revealed the identity of the man in the photo, Daniel Carter. He hadn't been a man who ran away. He was a dedicated, hard-working police officer in Chicago. Years ago, Daniel had uncovered a web of corruption involving a dangerous crime syndicate with ties to the city's most powerful politicians. After receiving chilling death threats against his family, he made the ultimate sacrifice, secretly sending Sarah and baby Emma away under the cover of night to ensure their survival. But before Daniel could join them in their new life, he vanished without a trace. The world assumed he was dead, a casualty of the war he started. "I spent every day terrified that they would find you too," Sarah sobbed, her face buried in her hands. "I had to keep you in the dark to keep you alive." Emma felt a surge of overwhelming emotion, anger, grief, and confusion all clashing at once. "All these years you looked me in the eye and lied to me," she choked out. "I was trying to save you," Sarah pleaded. Unable to breathe in the suffocating silence of the apartment, Emma turned and ran out the door, her prom dress trailing behind her as she disappeared into the rainy night. Scene 4. The Voice from the Shadows. Later that night, the festive music from the school gym felt like a distant echo. Emma sat alone on a cold stone bench, the silver fabric of her dress ruined by the damp air. Suddenly, her phone vibrated in her hand. An unknown number flashed on the screen. She answered tentatively. "Hello, Emma?" The voice on the other end was raspy, weak, and thick with unshed tears. Emma felt her heart stop. The world seemed to go silent. "I'm so sorry. I couldn't come back to you sooner," the voice whispered. "Dad." Emma's breath hitched in her throat. On the other end of the line, the man began to weep quietly. He confessed the agonizing truth. He had survived the attempt on his life and had spent nearly 2 decades living in the shadows of the Witness Protection Program. "I watched you grow up from a distance, Emma. Every birthday, every school photo. I was there, hiding in the crowd, just to catch a glimpse of the life I lost." He explained that the criminals who had hunted him were finally behind bars just weeks ago. For the first time in 17 years, the target on his back was gone. He was finally free to be a father again. Scene 5. The long-awaited reunion. The next morning, the bright lights of the airport arrival terminal felt surreal. Emma stood nervously at the gate, her fingers interlaced with her mother's. Sarah looked pale, her eyes darting toward the doors with a mix of hope and pure terror. "What if he hates me?" Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "What if he can't forgive me for hiding the truth from you?" Emma squeezed her mother's hand firmly, offering the strength they both needed. "He doesn't hate you, Mom. He still loves you. He always did." Then, the sliding doors hissed open. A tall man stepped through. He looked older than the photo, his face lined with the weariness of 1,000 sleepless nights, but his eyes were unmistakable. It was Daniel. The moment their eyes met, the years of pain vanished. Emma burst into tears and sprinted across the terminal, throwing herself into his arms. Daniel held her with a grip that promised he would never let go again. After 17 years of silence and shadows, the broken pieces of a family finally began to fit back together. Sarah watched from a distance, her face wet with tears, until Daniel looked up and saw her. He walked toward her slowly and pulled her into the embrace. "I never blamed you," he whispered into her ear. "You kept her safe." Sarah finally broke down, the weight of a 2-decade secret lifting off her shoulders. As the three of them stood locked in a tight embrace, travelers paused to watch, moved by the sight of a miracle happening in the middle of a crowded airport. The long wait was finally over. Sometimes parents hide painful truths not because they want to hurt their children, but because they are trying to protect them from a dangerous world. Real love is not always perfect, but true family always finds its way back together.